This is the DAR Today podcast, and I'm your host, Brooke Bullmaster Stewart. Well, here we are at Yellowstone National Park in front of Old Faithful. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. Today, we're going to have an interview with Dana Capaldi.
Mrs. Capaldi serves as the national chair of the DAR Service for Veterans Committee. DAR members love our nation's veterans, those who have faithfully answered the call to protect our country. The idea that one would offer their service, their time, their life to commit to an endeavor where they are not guaranteed a return, that is worthy of our recognition and respect. So today, we'll hear all about the work of this very crucial committee within our society. If you're new to DAR and the work we do, you might be pleasantly surprised by what you hear. But one quick announcement before we get to that interview. Our DAR Day of Service is coming up, October 11th. Be sure to look into what your chapter is doing for this special day. We'd love to hear what you're doing, so be sure to leave a comment to let us know. You never know how much you might encourage someone to get involved. We love to faithfully, every Monday, bring you all of this great content about the DAR, so be sure to subscribe to this podcast and smash that notification bell so you never miss an episode.
So I'm going to enjoy Old Faithful as it erupts here in a little bit. And you sit back and enjoy this interview with Dana Capaldi.
Well, Dana Capaldi, thank you so much for being here today. Of course, you are the Service for Veterans National Chair for the Daughters of the American Revolution. Tell us about your committee.
So the Service for Veterans Committee is the tangible way for daughters to say thank you to our veterans.
And is there anything that anybody would be surprised to learn about this committee, do you think?
I think most people think of Reach Across America, which is one of our projects, or VAVS, so the Veterans Administration Voluntary Service, our volunteers there. But we also have projects with Fisher House, with the Golden Games. We also support the Veteran History Project. And I think a lot of daughters forget that we do those as well.
Could you elaborate on the Golden Games?
Yes, so it's like the Olympics, but for our more mature veterans, so they can participate and show their skills.
How exciting to show that there's still strength there and there's still activities there. Yes. Exactly. And the Veterans History Project, I don't know about that. Would you elaborate on that?
So it is our daughters going out and giving veterans an opportunity to tell their story. As we know, most veterans, they keep that to themselves. It's part of being servant leadership, where we do what our nation called us to do, and then when we're done, right, we go home and we don't like to tell our stories. Mm-hmm. And so daughters have the opportunity to go out and record this history because it's a treasure. And you can go back and reflect on all these amazing men and women that served our country.
Exactly. You had an incredible honoree at Continental Congress. Would you tell us about him?
We did. So we were very honored to have Private First Class Steve Stevens, who is a 102-year-old World War II veteran. He flew in just for the luncheon so we could honor him. He was part of the liberation of the Philippines during World War II.
And he is 102.
102. And looked like 70 or 80, just as spry, had amazing stories. It was wonderful. Yeah, so I would always encourage daughters to find ways to support veterans, right? So everybody has busy lives, right? So you may not be able to go and be a VAVS. You may not have the ability to go to a VA clinic. There may not be one close to you. But just seeing a veteran, and some you can identify who they are. Sometimes they wear a hat, sometimes they'll wear a pin. Just go up to them and tell them, thank you for your service. Most times they won't know what to say, but just that little bit of words means a lot. And I would say especially to our Vietnam veterans, because they did not get the welcome home.
Mm. I hear you have incredible national vice chairs. Do you want to talk about that?
So I was very blessed to have, the committee already had one national vice chair. Mrs. Wright, in her amazing wisdom, with all the projects that we had, has expanded it. So I have 3 national vice chairs, and they are the liaison depending on the divisions. And on top of that, I also got 2 national vice chairs for Reads Across America, one that is the headquarters liaison and one that is the liaison to the states. I also have 2 women's issue national vice chairs. And also this administration, we have a national vice chair for VAVS, who, with her passion for veterans, wrote and we had approved the very first VAVS 101 handbook, which was published. You can find it on our committee website, both on the VAVS page and also in committee forms.
Do you have any other resources on there, on your website, that you would encourage members to go look and find?
Yes, so there's several. So we always like to honor our veterans. We have several templates on there that you can print your own certificate depending on the conflict. Up until this year, 2024, the only ones that were filled were for World War II, Vietnam, and Korea. We now have a fillable one with as many conflicts as we know that our veterans have gone through in the last 20 and 30 years. You can populate that information on your own. Additionally, I'd like to highlight all the information about the amazing 3 awards that this committee is honored to present during National Defense Night. All of it is there as well.
Thank you so much, Dana, for being a part of our podcast today. Thanks. Mrs. Capaldi mentioned that their committee awards 3 different recognitions. One is the Outstanding Veteran Volunteer Award, presented to a veteran in recognition of outstanding achievement in personal, professional, and family life. The applicant must prove significant contributions of leadership, patriotism, and increased public awareness of veterans. The sponsoring chapter must be in the state where the veteran lives. The second award is the Outstanding Youth Volunteer Award, presented to a youth volunteer who provides service for veterans and is 14 to 21 years of age. The award is given in recognition of outstanding or unusual care given to veterans. The candidate for the award serves as a role model for peers and consistently demonstrates the qualities of leadership. And finally, the Outstanding DAR Service for Veterans Award, presented to a DAR member in recognition of outstanding care given to veterans in any of the following areas: in the Department of Veterans Affairs facilities, state veterans facilities, nursing homes, shelters, and outpatient clinics. The outstanding NSDAR volunteer has given more than her time. She has made meaningful contributions to veterans through creative and resourceful outreach. These awards are presented at our Continental Congress every summer, and it's always a favorite of all of us to see and hear the acceptance speeches that they give. As you may know, we have mentioned the upcoming Semiquincentennial, the 250th birthday of our nation, and many of the events surrounding that celebration. Our President General Pamela Rouse Wright sent a letter to the Secretary of the Navy, the Honorable Carlos del Toro, to tell him of DAR's support of the birthdays of the Navy and Marine Corps. As it is the desire of the President General and DAR to ready ourselves for this significant event, we would love to share that letter with you today. To the Honorable Carlos del Toro, Secretary of the Navy, Dear Secretary del Toro, as President General of the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution, I write to strongly support your decision to direct the Navy and Marine Corps to celebrate the Navy and Marine Corps 250th birthdays in fall 2025 in Philadelphia and Camden. As part of the semiquincentennial of the independence of the United States, it is important to commemorate the events that enabled and protected that independence. The creation of the American military services in 1775. On October 13, 1775, the Second Continental Congress at Independence Hall in Philadelphia founded the Navy, whose first ship was soon commissioned on the banks of the Delaware. On November 10, 1775, the Second Continental Congress passed a resolution to raise the first battalions of Marines who were recruited in Tun Tavern in Philadelphia. From there, the Marines soon sailed down the Delaware on their first amphibious operation. There is no more fitting place to celebrate the 250th birthdays of the Navy and Marine Corps than at their birthplace, Philadelphia and the Delaware River. Mrs. Wright then continues, a group of Pennsylvania and New Jersey organizations and citizens have joined together as Homecoming 250 Navy Marine Corps to propose, quote, launching the Semiquincentennial, end quote, by celebrating the Navy and Marine Corps' 250th with ceremonies at Independence Hall, parades, aerial demonstrations, reenactments, and exhibits, as well as highlight events that can only happen in Philadelphia. First, Homecoming 250 plans to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Navy's founding by assembling for touring on both banks of the Delaware historical, replica, and active duty ships representing every major war which the Navy has fought: the American Revolution, the War of 1812, the Civil War, the Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Cold War, and the subsequent conflicts in the Middle East. This unprecedented exhibition of Navy history is only possible on the Delaware, where Philadelphia hosts the USS Olympia, which launched America as a naval power, and Camden hosts the battleship New Jersey, the most decorated Navy ship afloat. They will be joined by historic and replica ships and the most modern Navy vessels, producing a spectacular, unprecedented assemblage of Navy history. Second, Homecoming 250 plans to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the formation of the Marine Corps by gathering for a touring on the Delaware ships with a special connection to the Marines, including amphibious and aviation vessels. Homecoming 250 also plans to hold the 100th Marine Corps Ball in Philadelphia, where General Lejeune held the first Marine Corps Ball in 1925. Finally, Homecoming 250 hopes to celebrate the recreation of Tun Tavern, the birthplace of the Marine Corps, which will be a destination for Marines and others for decades to come. Mrs. Wright then concludes with these words, "Thank you again for deciding that the Navy and Marine Corps will celebrate their 250th birthdays at the Philadelphia and the Delaware River." We proudly stand behind Mrs. Wright and these words to the Secretary of the Navy, and I'm sure you'd agree these next few years promise to be some of the most exciting in our nation's history. What will you be doing to commemorate these events? Perhaps you'd like to plan to attend one of the many things that are planned. We sure hope you will, and maybe we'll see you there. We leave you today with this quote by President Theodore Roosevelt. Patriotism should be an integral part of our every feeling at all times, for it is merely another name for those qualities of soul which make a man in peace or in war, by day or by night, think of his duty to his fellows, and of his duty to the nation, through which their and his loftiest aspirations must find their fitting expression. Thanks for listening, and be well, dear friends. Let's celebrate the Stars and Stripes forever, and remember, with all of your ancestors behind you, you are the result of the love of thousands. This podcast is written and produced by our incredible team of writers and editors, and we are, as always, so grateful for President General Pamela Edwards Rouse Wright and Historian General Suzanne Heskey for their constant guidance, and to Dana Capaldi for being so generous with her time. The National Society Daughters of the American Revolution is a nonprofit, non-political, volunteer women's service organization dedicated to preserving our American history, securing the nation's future through better education, and promoting American patriotism. Members are all lineal descendants of those who supported the cause of independence in the Revolutionary War. For more information, please visit dar.org. This is the DAR Today podcast.